somebody left. Okay, I went from 5 to 3, so maybe they'll return. I'm supposed to start at 1. We have about 2 minutes. So if you want to put your name and some questions in the chat, I will certainly answer those questions for you. Creative writing is our topic for today, and it's time to write your book. I am a book coach. I'm a business coach who coach writers to write books from a business point of view. So if you have thought about writing a book and you haven't thought about the business side of having a book, which I see as a product, then I think I'd make a great coach for you. I've been in business for myself since when did I quit my job? I left Bank of America in 1977, I believe. And I started a speaking and training company at that time. And I did speaking and training for a long time. And I guess about 7 or 8 years ago, I added coaching to that. And now I'm also doing, like everyone else, a lot of online training. So you're going to get some information. I put it in the chat, but just in case you don't read the chat, I will be doing 2 free webinars coming up on October 22nd and October 29th, both on Zoom. Both are free. We will be on screen together, so we'll be able to talk to each other a little better than just in chat. Get your questions answered. And so if you are interested in writing a book writing is going to be the topic, it's time to write your book, how to write a book. And I do a 2-day workshop, which I'm still working on a date for that. Will be the first time that I'm going to do it online. So that'll be a very special treat for you as well. So the time is 1 o'clock. The class is going to begin. The first thing I'm going to do is to put my PowerPoint up, and we're going to talk about creative writing. I would love to know how many of you are writers. So if you are currently a writer, whether you're a professional writer or not, whether you've written a book or not, whatever it is, whatever type of writing you're doing right now, just go ahead and put that in I see we have 3 people, at least 3 people right now, and hopefully we're going to have more. But go ahead and put that information in the chat. And if you're having a hard time finding the chat, look near the top of your screen. And like I said, for me, it's on the right-hand side, and it says chat, and it says polls, and it says people. And then the session is live. So I'm here. You should all be here, hopefully by now. And we are ready to go. So I'm going to put my PowerPoint up. PowerPoint is open. I'm going to put it up for you to look at. And if you have any questions during this session, please do not hesitate to put those questions in the chat, because what I like to do is I'd like to speak more about what's going on with you than to just throw out a lot of information, because of course there's a lot of information I can share. But I'd like for you to get more of what it is that you need, or more of what it is that you want. So I'm going to open the PowerPoint now. And you're going to be able to see it. Okay. So you should be able to see the PowerPoint, hopefully. And please write in the chat if you can't see the PowerPoint. Let me know in the chat if you cannot see the PowerPoint. Okay, so we're going to talk about creative writing. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions about what creative writing is. And let me tell you that we're all creative writers, really. But traditionally, it's referred to as literature. But basically, um, creative writing is writing from your imagination, writing creatively. And we're going to talk about some ways to do that today. But I'm going to tell you, it is not academic or technical, but can still attract an audience. A lot of people are into creative writing. It is the art of making things up. How good are you at telling stories? How good are you at making things up? Creative writing is the art of making things up in any writing that is original and self-expressive. And so you can think, oh, they are such a creative writer, and I'm not a creative writer. But if you can write something that is original and self-expressive, if you can express it in your own words, in your own terms, and we're going to talk about some ways to do that, it's creative writing. Its purpose is to entertain and to share the human experience. Example, love or loss, joy or sadness. I mean, the purpose is to entertain. So you can be a creative writer who writes entertainingly, or sometimes it can be very, very low, but it's creative. Whether you are expressing a feeling or a thought, the first step is to use your imagination. Think about it. Think about the best movie you've ever seen or the best book you've ever written, and it came straight from their imagination. Like Pinocchio, every time you tell a lie, your nose grows. We know there would be a lot of people walking around with long noses, but that's from the imagination, and it became very powerful and very successful. And there are a lot of them you can think of out there where the writers are creatively writing. The types of creative writing: poetry. Are you a poet? A lot of people downplay their poet. I've worked with a lot of authors. I personally have written 8 books, but I've supported hundreds of authors in writing their books. And I've even written some books as a ghostwriter for those who didn't want people to know that they weren't actually writing the book. So there are lots of ways that you can express yourself creatively or in your writing, because you haven't put it and we've had some other people join us, but I want to say again, any questions you may have, any clarification you may need, anything at all, put it in the chat and I will answer those for you. But we're talking about poetry and plays, movie and television scripts, fiction, novels and short stories, songs. I've written a lot of speeches. Remember, I told you I spent about the first, I would say, 12 years of my career as a professional speaker, and I'm still a professional speaker. And I've written a lot of speeches, and a lot of times, depending on the audience, you have to be real creative because they don't want to hear you stand up and say the same thing the last 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 speakers said. Nonfiction, which are memoirs and personal essays. If you're thinking about writing your memoir, writing your story, and personal essays can be written creatively, written in the first person, meaning that in your voice, about your life, in your voice, in an expressive, exciting, entertaining way where people will want to read it. Okay. And then techniques used in creative writing: character development. That's and if you are a writer, and a writer of a book, a writer of anything, think about, especially if you're writing fiction, think about developing the character and the characteristics of that character. You know, how they act, how they look, how they speak, even how they walk, everything about that character, whether they're good or bad. Think about developing that character or characters before you even start writing the storyline. What is that character going to be like? That's creative writing. I want to create a character that is, and let your imagination flow. And then plot development is basically some of the same kinds of things. Let's see, plot development. When we talk about plot development, we're talking about creating a plot that may be from the very beginning. Everybody may know what it's about, but it takes a big turn. Or they may not find out to the middle or to the end what that plot is about. So we talk about writing a plot the same. Basically, there's The same way you would want to write your character development. Develop your plot development. You can have events all over the place. Let's say, for instance, there's going to be a car chase, and this first car chase is like someone's going to be chasing them and maybe they get away. But it's going to happen again, and the next time it may be tragic, or it may be more exciting, or I mean, you can just go on and on and on with you may not reveal your plot until the end of the story. So it's going to be different. It's going to depend on you. But plot development is real important because you develop your characters, you develop your plot. And a lot of this is done before you start writing, because actually you are writing, you're developing your story. And then there's the vivid setting. Okay. That means that you're not telling, you're showing. Vivid setting. When you're doing the vivid setting, you're using all your senses, the sense of smell and taste and sound and touch. So it's not just she walked over to the chair and sat down. No, you're going to talk about how she walked and maybe how the chair felt, and maybe she didn't just sit down, maybe she fell back into the chair. So vivid setting is that keep it creative and interesting. The underlying theme. Now, the underlying theme is something that you can use to really help people to be intrigued about your reading, because they may not discover what it is. If it's underlying, that means, okay, I, the writer, the creator, knows what I want my theme to be, but the reader or the audience or depending on who you're writing it for, don't know yet. And I may not let them know until the end Why? Because another book is coming out, or another movie is coming out, or I may kind of start to have hints in the middle of the movie all the way to the end before they discover, or they may discover in the movie. But think about your underlying theme. What is the underlying theme? The underlying theme is everyone thinks he's a good guy, but he's a bad guy. But they start out with all these wonderful things, and then you start to discover his character, which you've already taken care of that in character development and plot, right? So the underlying theme is discovered, or it's kind of kept hidden. Point of view. Now, the point of view, when you write from point of view, it can be from your point of view. It doesn't have to be. It could be from someone else's point of view. I wrote, I have stories in 3 of the Chicken Soup series, and Chicken Soup for the African-American Woman. I wrote about my mother, and I wrote some things from her point of view. And after we wrote the story, they asked us for our mother's, or whoever we were writing about, the woman's favorite recipe. And my favorite recipe that I thought she could make better than anyone in the world. Now, my mother-in-law may disagree, but anyone in the world is her banana pudding. We're from Texas. The lady could, as they say, put her foot in some banana pudding. So I put the recipe in there, but it was definitely from her point of view. Why? Because I couldn't make a banana pudding, especially like that, if you paid me. So it could be written from your point of view. You may be one of your kids and you're writing from their point of view, or maybe you want to write from your reader's point of view. But just think about that too. And then dialogue, of course, that's the verbiage. Those are the words. That's the dialogue. That's the conversation that's going to go on between your characters and everyone else. And then anecdotes. What do we have as an anecdote? A short, amusing, interesting story. Real person, or it could be made up. But it's an anecdote. My example is, if we were talking about pets, let's say you and I were having a conversation about a pet, and suddenly you wanted to tell me about your cat. We weren't talking about cats. We were talking about pets. Pets cover a variety of animals, right? But you told me this beautiful story about your cat. That's an anecdote. Okay. So you can use anecdotes. You can kind of carry them off and use an example somewhere. And the same with metaphors and similes. Metaphors and similes. When you use similes, those are words that are similar, but really doesn't have anything to do with each other. They compare one thing to another with a different likeness. one of the things I thought about when they were talking about a simile is some of you may be too young to know who oh my goodness, by Muhammad Ali was, formerly Cassius Clay. You know what they used to say about him? He float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Like, similar, does he float? Does he really float like a butterfly? Did he really sting like a bee? No, he didn't, of course. But that's a simile. And guess what? You can see him. I mean, that was a good description for how he moved. They were talking about how he moved, and then when he was moving so smooth, and then he threw a punch, and it would sting like a bee. The person who he hit would be stung. So that, okay. And then metaphors are very similar, very similar. When we talk about metaphors, it's a figure of speech, and it includes a comparison. So when we talk about a metaphor, we're talking about someone like, you hear them describe someone like Michael Jordan. What do they say about him? Air Jordan. What did they call him? Air Jordan. They didn't say like air, like an air. They said Air Jordan. And you draw the conclusion. Why would they call him Air Jordan? Those of you who know Michael Jordan, who may be too young to know Michael Jordan was, he was one of the best basketball players that ever played on the floor. They called him Air Jordan because when he went up in the air, it was like he was walking on air. And you you don't hear people say he walked on air. That would be a simile. He walked on air like he was, Jesus or something, whatever. That would be a simile. But when you use a metaphor, Air Jordan. How about Magic Johnson? Why would they call Magic Johnson Magic? Because of the way he played. It's an inference the way he played. And you can draw the inference. If I say Air Jordan or Magic Johnson or some of the other people you've heard described, you would automatically know what they're saying without them saying it. So those are the kinds of things you can say. Something like, good luck follows me. What does that mean? Good luck follows me. I win a lot, perhaps, or I feel lucky. I'm a lucky person. People may look at me and say, wow, she's lucky. They don't see the hard work, so they think you're lucky. But if you understand what I'm saying, these are the kinds of things that you can add into your writing, and it won't break it up. It'll still make sense. And then figures of speech. Figures of speech goes along with the word or phrase that possess a separate meaning. So a lot of times you will hear people throw things in that has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with what you're saying, but it's a figure of speech. And some people, well, like me, maybe it's because I'm a writer and a speaker and a trainer and a coach. My husband actually calls me literal Linda. So a lot of times you have people who are literal, but you don't have to be. You can use these figures of speech, things that people say a lot that becomes a figure of speech, figuratively speaking. So in other words, I don't mean it exactly, or it may not be exactly what I mean, or I may not say it exactly the way it should be said, but it's something that you hear so often in our language, it becomes a figure of speech. And then we get to that imaginative language and that emotional appeal, and that's creative writing, the imagination. So if you want to write about something, I would say write it and then go back and see how you could use your imagination to change it, or that emotional appeal. An emotional appeal appeals, to feelings and perceptions, and not to logic or reasoning. Imaginative language and emotional appeal, both of those are going to be appealing to a person's feelings. So if you're writing creatively and you're writing a novel and it's completely fiction and you really want to draw your reader in, you need to use imaginative language and emotional appeal, something that really gets them to be pulled in. And we're talking about feelings. And guess who uses that against us really well? You're right. Ads. They know how to go for that emotional appeal or that imaginative language, because that's why a lot of people turn the TV down and leave the room when commercials come on, because they can really get pulled in. And that is why people who write commercials turn the volume up so they can pull you in. Okay, so I want you to know that you don't have to know all this today. What Dr. Rosie wanted me to do is to provide creative writing for those who really, maybe beginners, but not only beginners, but people who really want to try their hand. I've written 8 books and I've never written a fiction. Fiction is false. I have written some small passages of fiction, but all of my books so far has been nonfiction, and they've been different. They're all across the board because I didn't start out as a business coach. Remember, I told you I started out in personal growth and development. My first book I wrote in 1997, and the title is Loving Yourself First, A Woman's Guide to Personal Power, How to Take Charge of Your Life. I'm a long way from that book. The book that is being offered today with Black Writers on Tour is a complete guide to selling books for self-published authors. That's a business book. Not right after, but even before that book, I wrote a book and I interviewed about 30 breast cancer survivors. And the title of that book is From Tribulation to Triumph. And it's their stories of overcoming a challenge of breast cancer. Wonderful stories. So you can see you don't have to be stuck in one area or another when you're writing. Maybe you can write what you feel. And the last 3 books, one of them if you're still here, you're going to be surprised because you're going to get it free today. It's a downloadable book. I want to offer it to you before our time is up. So the point that I was trying to make for you is that you don't have to be stuck in a given area to use creative writing, or you don't have to just use creative writing, because I've written, the last 3 books were business books. A Complete Guide to Selling Books is a business book. And then I did an anthology with a group of business people, some of the greatest business people in the country. And it's called Experts Wisdom. And it is a business book. And I didn't have to call on my creative writing skills so much. They wanted a lot of facts, but I wrote it creatively to keep their attention. So it wouldn't just be a boring old business book. I wrote my story that way. So I approached it that way. So creative writing ideas, try writing magical, realistic, some imaginary, but make it real. So realities, try writing magical. That's supposed to be realities. And this is just, these are practice. Now, if you're wanting to become a better creative writer, write these. Try writing magical realities, something imaginary, but make it real. So it's not real, but you're going to make it so convincing that people who read it feel like it's real, even if they know. Have you ever read a book that you know it was a fiction, that it was false, but it was so good and you were so pulled into the story, it was like it became real. Or you've watched a movie that way. So you can try writing, just try it. Try writing, just find a topic, find something, find a person, find a story, and just write. This is like flexing your creative writing muscles. Okay, write from a different perspective. I'm doing that quite a bit these days, since my husband calls me literal Linda. I try to write from a different perspective, from his perspective, or from someone else's perspective. Or my mom, I lost last October, so I asked myself, how would she approach this? A voice and background different from your own. And I can tell you 2 people I met in the 2 years I don't know if I mentioned that I took 2 years out of my business to go to work for the Obama campaign. And then one of those years I spent in Ohio. And 2 people that I met, and that is Michelle and Barack Obama. And I love to write from their perspective because I think they're both genius and I'm not. But a voice of and a background different from your own. Write from a different perspective and do this. You can these exercises here. I mean, you can use them, but they become second nature once you start to play around with them. So find someone. One of the best things to do is find someone you disagree with and write from their perspective and see how it feels. Write about what's around you. There's a lamp in the room with me. Here's a computer. You know, there are my signs back there. Lots of things. Just pick, there's a water bottle. Just pick something and write about it. Get inspired by ordinary objects. And I know you're saying, oh, what ordinary object is going to inspire me? It's not the object that's going to inspire you. It's your thought process in writing about it. It's not just a water bottle. All of a sudden, maybe it's full of the last drop of water on earth. Oh my goodness. Or it's the water that you had at your child's whatever, I mean, just write about it. Get inspired by ordinary objects. Let your reading inspire your writing. To create something original, let your reading inspire your writing. So when you want to write something, if you want to write in a certain area or a certain genre, I do a lot of reading. And now here we're not talking about taking someone else's personal property or copying or imitating. We're talking about being inspired. And I can tell you when I wrote my first book, I was in finance. I think I told you my last paying job I had was Bank of America. And I was a community development liaison for Bank of America. And my territory was all of Southern California. So, which is, I think, one of the reasons that I love being a business coach, because I learned a lot. But right when you are creating something original and you are writing about something that inspire you, you can take everything that inspires you and put it into your own story. I have never written my own memoir, but I think I want to, because the last 2 years I've spent helping a lot of people, and I'm helping a young lady right now write a biography about someone she holds in high esteem. So, and I've helped some other people write their memoirs. I had a young lady a couple of years ago who was ill, and thank God she's still here and she's still, writing, and she's still vibrant, but she didn't think she was going to be here. Imagine, she was motivated to write that creative, inspiring story because she wanted to leave her story behind as a legacy. So I've had people. I had a very, very famous person, I won't call the name, whose family engaged me, and he didn't want to do it. And of course, he passed away without doing it. So I would say, if you're inspired, you can write someone else's story for them, especially if they're ill. Take a plot and write it multiple ways, not just one way, a well-defined plot. Write it multiple times in different endings. So again, you could take a plot, one of your favorite books or stories or movies, and look at the plot and then rewrite the plot multiple times in different endings. These are exercises. The last 5 things I've given you is actually writing exercises that you can try to flex your creative writing ideas and muscles. So what I want to know at this point in time, I want you to know that you can get a free personal writing consultation. To schedule it, and I'll put this in the chat as well, you will go to www.businessdevelopmentforsuccess.com, the /writing, and then the / again, / after come, and then writing, WRITING, and then / again. And we will contact you based on the date and time you include on the form that you want to talk with us. This is free, and we can talk about your plans and your goals. So now it's time for questions. And I'm going to, and let's talk. And my contact information, which is in the, I may have messed it up a few times, but it's in the chat box. So I'm ready for your questions. Any questions you may have, I'm going to lower and stop sharing my video. And we have a little bit of time left. There are 5 people still here. So come on, tell me what questions you may have. Write them in the chat box, and I will certainly answer them for you. Okay. I think one of the question is, what if I want to write a screenplay? And that is definitely where creative writing comes in. There are classes. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on screenplay writing, but I can tell you that anytime you write anything, other than if you write for a newspaper, they write hard facts. They're supposed to write the facts, the truth, anything else you can use some creative writing in, except for those if you were writing, I guess, for Google or someone who just base everything on fact, then you don't have room for creativity or imagination. But if you're writing a book and it's your decision, or if you're writing a screenplay, like I said in the exercises, take someone else's work and rewrite it, not take it and make it yours, but as one of your exercises. One of your favorite TV shows, or one of your favorite movies, or one of your favorite books, and you take a look at what their plot was, what their underlying theme was, what were they trying to accomplish with that book, and just do something. Take that topic and do something completely different with it. Write it completely different. But with the script, there are some guidelines, and I think there may be. I'm not sure if he's usually here at every Black Writers on Tour conference, teaching about writing scripts. But you can Google, you can find a lot of information online about writing writing a movie script. How about Tyler Perry? There are a lot of people, but like I said, it's going to require, I can tell you, it's creativity. You can look at the movies that are out there. Even comedic movies has the imagination. Think about the funniest movie you ever saw. And it still has drama, usually. It definitely has comedy. It definitely has ups and downs and arounds, right? It's designed to make you laugh, but sometimes you've seen some comedy movies. They start out making you laugh. In the middle, they make you cry, and then at the end or some other point, they call it rise and fall, and then you kind of level out there, and then you rise, and then maybe you end better off or worse off or critically, So there are a lot of ways to play with it. So I would say if you want to write a script, I would certainly investigate a script writing coach or class or something like that, because I'm not going to tell you I can be a really great expert on script writing. Any other questions for me? I'm going to put that information, I'm going to show it to you right now, actually, and I want you to let me go back. I'm going to pull it up. I did say there was a gift for you, and it's coming right now. I'm going to show that to you right now. I did it a second ago with my PowerPoint, so I know I can do it with my special gift for you for hanging in here to the end. Okay, we're going to see if we can get that up now. Let me open this back up. Open this. Open this. You should see it, hopefully. Okay. I am sharing it. Okay. If you can't see it, what it says is get your free guidebook. And all you have to do to get the free guidebook, it is 7 ways to define your business for lasting success. It is a downloadable. It is my gift to you. It's www.businessdevelopmentforsuccess.com. I'm going to put it in the chat. And I thank you for joining me. I'll leave it here a few minutes, and hopefully you'll be able to get it. Get your free guidebook today. Let me see if there are any other questions for me before I go away. Okay, it's this is the guidebook here. It's downloadable. It's on my site. You can go to my site and you'll find it pretty quick, and you just click on it. But it is www.businessdevelopmentforsuccess.com. It's in the chat box. And please, the chat box is on your right. It says chat. And if you have a question, a comment, your information you'd like to share, or have any additional questions, please put that in the chat box and I will respond. We have, I don't know if they cut us off, but we have about 10 minutes. This class is over at 1:45, so we have about 10 more minutes together. If you have any questions, I don't know if you missed anything. It looks like we have more people now than we had when I started. So I don't know if you missed any of it or not, but if you have any questions for me, shoot, go ahead, ask right now. All you have to do is type it in, hit that little arrow, and I'll be able to see it if you have a question or a comment. Okay, I'm going to make sure that you, if you like, get that free gift that I have for you. Okay, and it's a downloadable book right here. This book right here. I had it up on my PowerPoint, but it's right here. It's for you for being here today. So you can go to my website, and it's up there, www.businessdevelopmentforsuccess.com. You'll see it. It's on the first page. So if you go to that website, you will see that book. It is free. It's downloadable. And I put 7 tips in there that I think is one of the things I learned from my business coach is that you give away some good stuff. Don't give away junk. So I put some really good tips in there for you. And if you are interested in the 2-day webinar, that information is out there, is on the in the chat as well. It's www.businessdevelopmentforsuccess.com. Then there's that backward slash. It says want, WANT, 2TO, right, WRITE. Those 2 are on there. So you can attend the 2 free webinars, and both of those is going to be on book writing. Not so much on how to write like today. We were talking about creative writing, but how to write a book. I do a 2-day workshop, and I have not done it online yet, but I am putting it together. And it's called From Concept to Completion, How to Write Your Book in 90 Days or Less. So if you're interested in any of that, and I'll go ahead and put that up there, the 2-day workshop. It will be virtual for the first time. And the title is how, let's see. Can't walk and chew gum, you guys. how to write a book in 90 days or less, guaranteed. The reason I can guarantee it is I've done it for lots of people, and those people are willing to say that it worked. Now, you don't have to write it in 90 days, and everybody didn't get it written in 90 days, but that was because they were not committed to the time frame. But if you wanted to be an author, let's see, this is October, November, December, January. By January, I was saying December, but October is almost over. So if you want a 90-day plan to get you there, if you've been on again, off again, these are the people I'm talking to. Want to write a book, but you're not sure where to start. Off again, on again. Now you want to get on and stay on. Preparing to write, but don't seem to get to the act of writing. Interested, but don't believe you can do it. Have a lot of great ideas, but don't know how to develop them. Don't think you have the time. That's the number one thing I hear. I don't have time. Or the other one is I'm researching, and I tell them research easily turns into procrastination, and we can research as we write. So you don't have to spend 2 years researching, because by the time you start writing, that research could be out of date. So in the session we have, you learn how you can achieve your dream of becoming a published author without giving up your life, meaning time management. Identify your writing style, get answers to the most frequently asked questions about writing a book. This is the seminar. Get an overview of my system that takes you from idea stage to published author using techniques guaranteed to cut the book writing process by 2/3. So if you don't think you're ready for the 2-day, the webinars are free, and we're going to have open conversation, get your questions answered, and I hope you would plan to attend. We got 5 minutes. Any other questions? I don't see them popping in the. This tells me that I have 7 people still on the line, so we're going to be. They'll probably be cutting me off at 1:45 because I've got. Oh, you can join me in my booth, or you can join me in networking. So if there's someone that wants to do a one-on-one, let me put that in there. One-on-one. I'm heading over to my booth and the networking area as well. In the chat, you can go in and put at Linda Colman Willis, and a message will come directly to me. So the @ sign, like you do on Twitter, Linda Colman Willis, and it'll come to me, and we can meet up in my booth, or we can meet up in the network, and either one you want to. I'll be glad to have additional conversations with any of you. Okay, 4 minutes. The reason I'm looking at that, because in some of these, I think it might be the networking session, you have 7 minutes with whoever you're talking to, then they cut you off, and the next thing you know, someone else is in front of you. I don't know if it works that way here, because this is a planned session for me, so I'm not sure how it works. But you still have 4 minutes. So if you have another question, please ask it. Another question or comment, or you can leave your information. I'd love to be able to have a more personal conversation with you. Okay, well, some of you are shy, I guess. We still have 5 people, 2 people left, but everybody didn't leave. So, interesting. Okay. You don't have to, well, no, it does identify you. If you type in, I guess, if you're registered, I guess it will identify you. But you have all of my information. You have my website. You have a couple of email addresses, lindaspeaks@aol.com or lindaspeaks1113@gmail.com. You have my number, 323-819-8681. So you have all the ways to contact me. You don't have to contact me to register for the upcoming 2 webinars. They're going to be on Zoom, and it's nothing difficult about Zoom. I send you a link. You click on the link. It brings you into I have my own space there. I purchased space there. So it's my own space. It's mine. No one else can use it. So you're going to come directly to my space, and we'll have as much time as we need, whether it's an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours or a day. I can hold my own events there. So I'm going to do 2 different webinars. It's the same webinar, 2 different days. October 22nd at 6 p.m. and October 29th at 6 p.m. Now those times may be flexible if I find that, and that's because I know sometimes we have people that are from all over the country. They may be East Coast, and 6 o'clock may be a little late. So one may be 6, the other one may be 3 or 4. We'll see. It depends on registration and how people respond. So if you're interested, you have that on it's www.businessdevelopmentforsuccess.com /want WANT 2 TO right WRITE /. All right, I guess I'm going to say goodbye in a minute, and no one else has asked a question. I see we still have 4 people. And that's interesting. Talk to me. Okay, so we're about to leave in a minute, but I'll be in my booth, and you'll see my booth because it has my picture, my name, and I will be in networking. And so if you want to talk one-on-one, you can find me in my booth. You can find me in the networking area. All right. Have a fantastic day. I guess we're all going to leave now. Okay.